What's up, guys? Welcome to the toy department. I got Tim joining me. What are we looking at today?
Today we're taking a look at the He-Man Origins.
Alright, so we've got the He-Man Origins figures made by Mattel, who originally made the original He-Man figures. Let's look at the good and the bad and the ugly. The good, the bad, the ugly about these figures.
First thing you notice whenever you pick one up is it feels good, it feels sturdy, it feels solid in your hand. A lot of toys that are made today, they use soft, cheap plastic, and it shows, you know?
It does not feel cheap. You're right about that. It does not feel cheap. The sculpts, the bodies, they look pretty good. A little disproportionate, but we'll get into that a little bit more a little bit later on. But they've got all the definition with the muscles there and everything. They've done a pretty good job of keeping true to the original line.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel these, the plastic is a little bit different from, we got a Prince Adam, I think, over here from,
over there.
That's over there. Well, we'll get it in a minute. The plastic is just a little bit different, but it is solid, like you said. It's a solid, nice, heavy. It's got some weight to it. So that's a really, really good thing. Let's talk about the packaging on these first. We have, the packaging looks like the old school original packaging. It's very detailed. I like the artwork on here. You know, you've got the red, what is that, like earth or ground or shattering with the, you know, the classic Masters of the Universe logo and all that stuff. It does come with the comic book.
It does come with the comic book. However, I feel like this is where they've dropped the ball. Probably the most severe of dropping the balls is it's only one comic book. No matter what toy you get, no matter what figure you get, it's the same comic book. It's the same. I mean, that's no fun. That's like, I don't even know what that's like. That's like a disappointment.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Not fun. In the original line, all the characters had the, unique comics.
Mm-hmm.
And this is literally all the same comic. So that's, I agree with you. Ball drop on that.
Yeah.
Everything else about the packaging, I think, looks pretty amazing. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
A couple things over here, modern posing retro play, and then in the top left corner, new for 20. That kind of gives you the distinction of, hey, this is not a original vintage, 1982 He-Man figure.
Sure.
So good on that. I like that it distinguishes.
We're not trying to get one over on anyone.
Right. And that's just on the front. Like, if you know what you're looking for, you can tell automatically. You go to the back and, you got copyright 2019 Mattel. That's your other tell. But, so now let's take a look at the figure, shall we?
Despite the comic fell, one thing I really do like is on the bottom back of the card, you have a space that the plastic overlaps without any of the cardboard on there. And the only reason I can think of they did that was because it allows you a really easy and what's the word I'm looking for?
Sort of a clean break on the open.
Clean break, yes.
Instead of tearing up the package.
Then you can just run your finger along and it ain't all tore up.
For those of you who want to keep the packaging, if you are going to open these, you can do it in a way to where you don't manhandle it. It's actually a really nice feature. I'm glad you noticed that. In any of the reviews I've seen on these toys, nobody really mentions that. So,
stickler for detail.
Stickler for details. So I think if you're right, and I have no reason to believe you aren't right about that, hey, thank you, Mattel.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the toys.
So out of the package, when you pick it up, one of the first things you notice is it has some weight to it, and it's sturdy. It feels nice. It feels strong. It feels durable. Unlike some of the toys that were made today with the cheap soft plastic, and you can really feel a difference there. They're cheap feeling. These are not cheap feeling. These feel like they can stand the test of time. You can really see it in the He-Man because you don't have anything obstructing his body and whatnot. The disproportionate. They are disproportionate. You got these huge shoulders, which makes the body seem weak. I mean,
okay, so let me expand on that a little bit because I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So first of all, the molds and the sculpts, I think they've done a great job there. They kept pretty true to the original figures. They got those wide shoulders, that narrow waist. They got that V going on. We're talking about disproportion. The word I think you're looking for is symmetry. Okay, now in bodybuilding, not that I'm a bodybuilder, but I do love that world. I love that culture and whatnot. You got to be symmetrical, and what that means is if your shoulders are too big, it makes your chest look too small. You know what I'm saying? If your thighs are too big, it can make your calves look too small if they're underdeveloped. One thing here, we're talking about the symmetry and the disproportion. The shoulders, in my opinion, are too big. It makes the torso and the chest look too small. So they either, in my opinion, needed to make the torso a little bit wider or make the shoulders just a smidge. And we're talking on a toy like this, on this scale, we're talking millimeters.
Yeah.
Just smaller. If you actually put these up next to the original figures, they are a little more narrow on the torso. But the shoulders are about the same. But because of that, it looks disproportionate. It doesn't look symmetrical. The shoulders look way too big. The legs, I think, absolutely were toned down just a little bit. And because of the points of articulation, which we'll talk about in a minute, they don't sit the same way as an original figure does. The original figure, kind of had a wider stance. The legs were turned a little bit outwards, so it just looked a little beefier and meatier.
Yeah, you can't even
do
that. Wow.
There was more girth. And we're talking thickness. If you're looking straight on at the leg, we're talking thickness of the leg on the original figures versus these figures. Now, that being said, I talked about points of articulation.
All right, so as far as points of articulation, we have the head, and it can go up and down, left and right. On the original line, they just went up or left and right. As far as the arms, original line, all you could do is really just move at the shoulder. These, it is kind of stiff, but you can move with the elbow. You can move at the wrist. You can actually move the wrist, twist the wrist, and go up and down with the wrist, which is good. It's good. The waist.
We will show you guys why we think that is good in a minute, because we're actually going to talk about posing and how you can pose these characters.
The waist twists just like the originals.
You can actually get a full 360.
In this one? Yes.
Yeah, on that one.
Hey, look.
Hey, look at me. Crisscross make you want to jump. Anyways.
So the legs, I mean, you can almost do the Van Damme split, or you can move the legs just, I guess, like you can on the originals. With this one, you got the knees that bend. You got the shin that rotates, which I feel is unnecessary.
I agree with you on that one.
That's the one point of articulation that I feel should have just been
I agree with that.
But it does come in handy. I see why you would need that for the interchangeableness of it.
Okay.
And we'll get to that. And then you got the ankle that can go up and down. Not only can it go up and down, but it can go left and right. It swivels.
So think like this. You got your ankle like this. It goes up and down, and it can turn in or turn out. It can turn in or turn out. Which, if we're talking about posing, that's a really good thing, because then you can put him in different stances. You can put him in a wide stance, a horse stance, anything like that, or make it to where he looks like he's coming down in the splits, and his feet are going to stay flat on the ground. Versus if you're spreading his legs out and his feet, they stay like this. Kind of like that pause attraction scene in My Cousin Vinny where she talks about the, you know what I mean? So that's actually really neat. Again, we're going to talk about the posability of these things later, because while some, like Tim just mentioned, some of the things are a little like, did that really need to be there? It's once you start getting down and posing these characters, you're like, okay, it's not a bad thing that it's there.
As with all the points of articulation, which is good. The only reason why I say that the shin thing, I see like, I know why they put it in there. Because although you got articulation, parts come off. The head comes off. The wrist comes off. The arms come off. The waist comes off. The legs come off. The shin part, where I was like, that don't need to be there, it comes off. So that you can mix and match your He-Man's, put Skeletor's shins on, or feet on He-Man, and Beastman's face on He-Man's body, and just a wide assortment of mix and matches.
I think your everyday average Joe collector, to them, that's not going to be so much of a selling feature. But once kids, now keep this in mind, y'all. This is a toy.
Yes.
At the end of the day, this is a toy. And it's not just adults who are going to enjoy these toys. It's going to be kids, too. Matter of fact, these aren't even yours.
These are not mine.
these are your sons.
Yes, they are.
And, of course, he wanted to play with them, so he opened them. Mm-hmm. But once he figures out that he can interchange, or any child figures out they can interchange body parts, well, now it's on a whole new level. You can create different characters. Mm-hmm. I know people, there is a very large underground fanatical base of customizing sure. parts, making custom parts and things of that nature. So imagine being able to take He-Man's arm and recasting it, remolding it, and putting a different color or whatever on it. You know what I mean? And having your own unique He-Man, Skeletor, or whoever. So I could see that being a really cool thing down the road. You know, maybe if the toy line gets super popular and people want to customize parts,
you can do the Wonder Bread He-Man.
There it is. I mean, there it is, right? So let's take a look at just a few of the weapons right here. We're not going to dig too much into all the weapons for every character here, but I want to kind of some of the more popular weapons is obviously the Power Sword or Sword of Power. It's got a few different names, whatever you want to call it. The He-Man and the Skeletor pieces. They look great front on. You turn them around, and they are very flat. And this is actually just like the original ones. The reason they're flat like that is because you can take these swords and combine them. And whoever basically can get both swords, combine them, they have ultimate power.
They have power of Grayskull.
Basically.
Yeah.
And, in the show, the cartoon, if you remember, Skeletor is always trying to get He-Man's sword because he has the other half of it. It's kind of like the yin and yang, good and evil, but once you put them together, it's this all-powerful force. That is really neat. I know some people may prefer them to basically be, using the word again, symmetrical, both sides. That way it just looks cooler. You can pose it different ways. You can have it turn different ways without it showing a flat edge. With He-Man, the shield, the shield is it's nice and sturdy. I don't know if I like this one or the original one better. I like the original one better. Actually,
it's the toys all the way around feel. Or not the toys, but the weapons, the shields, feel like something's wanted, or wanting, I feel. Like, for instance, Beastman's whip. All right, it looks like one of those megaphones that you have in like those 1930s directors. Quiet on the set, but with a rope attached to it. That's a weapon.
Let's take a look at these weapons side by side compared to the originals, and you guys kind of decide what you think is better. Honestly,
the sword fits in his hands, though.
A sword does fit in his hands. I like the original weapons, especially when we're talking about He-Man. I like the original weapons better. So one thing I do want to point out right here, and we're talking about the good and the bad and the ugly. We've been doing really nothing but talking about good. One of the bad things is the comic book, and that might even be ugly because it is the same comic throughout. I don't really like the head sculpts. I think they looked way better on the vintage toys. There's just some detail missing, and they're pretty detailed. And I don't know what it is. I just like the look of the originals better. I can't really
put your finger on it.
I can't really put my finger on why, but I just think they look better on the originals.
I can. With the He-Man, it looks like he's taking a dump. Okay, that's the expression he has on his face. On the originals, he looks like someone just spilled something on his shoes, like he's mad, And you may ask, how can you tell that from just a look? You can tell a lot from a look. But we'll put them side by side, and you'll see what I mean. All right, so we got the Battle Cat. Battle Cat. I like that his head moves up and down. His jaw even opens. Arr! You can make him look all mean and stuff. I will say this: they did do too much articulation on the Battle Cat, because where his arms go like this, which is great because the original one was a standstill. His arms go like this, but his hands also go like this and back like that, and his tail swivels around.
I want to point this out, and this is actually, in my opinion, a really good thing. If you look at the bottom of Battle Cat's paws, you can actually see paws, versus on the original it's just flat. It's just flat plastic. which that's not going to come out very good on green screen. So he might be strictly insert shots on that one because they're green. But you know what? Okay, go on. Moving on.
He looks like a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing.
He looks like a dog.
Well, I mean, it's just that's a tiger.
He's too fluffy.
He is too fluffy.
I was going to say he looks like a dog. He's just too fluffy.
He's too fluffy. That could be it. That could be. Maybe it's this right here that's not doing it for me. Maybe that's why I'm like, he looks like a dog.
Because I don't see dog. He just looks. He looks bloated.
He doesn't look like a cat.
I mentioned this earlier. I'm going to say it again. These are not just for adult collectors. These are for kids, and the posability is going to honestly allow a child's imagination to run wild and do so many different things. Some things you can do with, well, I'm talking about Battle Cat. He can bear hug people now. You can take these characters and you can do pose offs with them. If you wanted to, you can make them dance. You can make them do other things as well. And the truth is, there's a whole slew of poses that you can put these characters in and have them do so many different things and imagine them doing anything and everything with whatever pose you put them in. I think that's a great thing. I think it really is going to challenge the imagination. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. That is our look at the He-Man Masters of the Universe Origins toy collection. These guys have been out a little bit, but this is our first time getting our hands on these and really being able to play with them and see what they're all about. I like them. Overall, I like them. I got to be honest. So, parents, what did these cost? Do you know? What are they?
$14.99.
$14.99.
$14.99.
Okay, not no $3 like they were back in the early 80s, but $14.99, that's good. I think that's a decent price point for today. They're actually kind of hard to find, and I think that's because of adults. Yeah. And adult collectors. But that tells you something. Mm-hmm. There's a want for them. I think these are good. These are a must buy. These are a must buy, whether you're an adult collector or you're looking for a gift for a child, birthday, Christmas, whatever. I think they're good.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I concur.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.